Hey guys, welcome back to the B.Y.O Show. You're with Jordan and Ryan.
Sorry, I'm Ryan.
As always, got a little bit to talk about this week, so we'll
Another big week. Another great big week.
do the list then.
Yeah. So I've compiled a list, as I always do. We've got a couple of, you'll notice here, we've got a couple of different systems in place at the moment. We're just trying some different techniques for sound quality and stuff like that. Let us know whether you think it sounds any better or looks any better. Now, the list I've compiled here, Geordie, there was so much stuff going on this week. It's been ridiculous, and E3's happening at the same time, so there's all sorts of stuff that we're super interested in. And obviously, we'll do our gaming special as well in the next few days. Movie news. So, heaps of stuff that was really interesting to me. We got some information on The Division, which is a game adaptation that's was announced like 3 years ago. It's made a move over to Netflix, which is just weird, out of left field a bit. We got some information on the Uncharted movie, which is by far like a make it or break it for like PlayStation production and stuff like that. We got Ghostbusters 3 information, we got Bill and Ted information, and then I thought we could talk a little bit about Dark Phoenix.
Cool.
Since everyone hates it and we didn't really hate it. So anything on that list in particular? Sorry, I'm still sick a bit, so if my voice drops out, that's why.
I mean, the Uncharted stuff's cool.
Yeah.
I'm pretty pumped to see where PlayStation Productions goes. So, yeah, let's chat about that.
So the thing is, so like PlayStation, I don't know whether we talked about it on the show or not, but PlayStation, I think we did a couple of weeks ago. PlayStation basically opened like a sort of like subsidiary spin-off of like Sony Pictures that was specific to PlayStation products. So, and they were actively developing movies and TV shows and spin-offs and all this sort of stuff, which is big news because like it's kind of like a Marvel Studios move, nearly.
Yeah.
But in regards to PlayStation properties, Uncharted is one of the most successful PlayStation exclusive game series of all time.
Yeah, well and truly.
It's grown across PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. It's had a couple of spin-offs. It was on PSP, or PlayStation Vita, I should say.
Yep.
And then they did a digital download spin-off that ended 2 years ago with The Lost Legacy, which was a spin-off from Uncharted 4, which closed up that story. In 2008, they announced an Uncharted movie from Sony Pictures, which was, I think, a year before Uncharted 3? No. Yeah, a year before Uncharted 3 came out, I believe. Or maybe a year before Uncharted 3. No, yeah, a year before Uncharted 2, sorry. Yeah. And it was going to be based on Drake's Fortune, which is the first entry in the game, which for most people obviously will be their entry into that Uncharted universe. And essentially it was set up, I forget who the original director was, but like Mark Wahlberg was attached, and like it was going to be this big thing, like Robert De Niro had interest in being playing a part and whatever. Yep. And pretty much over the last 8 years, it's passed through all sorts of different hands. This is the 5th director that's been attached to it. They've had Tom Holland attached to it for like I think nearly 3 years. Yeah. Pretty much since just after he was announced as Spider-Man. Yep. And fans of the game like myself have pretty much just sort of let go at this point. We were kind of like, look, it's not going to happen. Like, it had its time. Assassin's Creed came out and didn't do well. Tomb Raider came out, didn't do well, although it's somehow getting a sequel. And it was just seemingly it was not something that was going to happen. Cut to last year, they announced that Dan Trachtenberg, who was a predominantly independent director, independent film director, who for most people would probably know him for 10 Cloverfield Lane, which is a really great movie. If you haven't seen it, go and check that out. Yep. Anyway, massive video game fan. He got attached to the project, and it's been in still sort of active development for a while. And then just over the last couple of weeks, they'd announced that Uncharted, that movie in particular, had moved to PlayStation Productions, which was going to take advantage of Sony's marketing and Sony's like distribution chain and everything like that. But yep. PlayStation, as a subsidiary of Sony, was going to have full creative control and let someone like a Dan Trachtenberg really like make the movie they wanted to make. So, cut to start of this week. Tom Holland's still attached. We got a little bit of information months ago from like a leaked email about some potential casting stuff for Sully.
Yeah. But
we have an official release date, December 18, 2020. It's not that far away, really. It's a year and a half. There was some sort of contention about what the script was going to be because Joe Carnahan from like the A-Team and stuff had written a script, and like Sony had touted like Joe Carnahan and whoever his writing partner was as like a beast team, and they were writing this really cool script. Apparently, it didn't pan out, and he was really pissed off that it didn't pan out. He was pretty vocal about that on Twitter.
Yeah.
So they've gone back to the drawing board. They've confirmed that this is a prequel of sorts, which is sort of, it looks like it's borrowing a lot of elements from parts of Uncharted 3.
Yeah.
In that it's a much younger Nathan Drake than what we're used to, which is, for those who don't know, Uncharted is sort of like a contemporary take on like an Indiana Jones-esque kind of character. In that he's doing, treasure hunting and adventuring and guns and all sorts of stuff. Massive, awesome, big cast of characters, and the story would basically be following a young Nathan Drake, Tom Holland, meeting up with his would-be mentor and father figure, Victor Sullivan, or Sully, who is, both of those characters are much older in the actual game series. But I think it's kind of smart that they do this because people aren't as specifically attached to the lore or the canon of how Nate and Sully sort of came together.
Yeah.
Because there is a couple of different versions of that story that get told across the series.
I think it's a cool idea that they're doing it from this age as well.
Yeah.
It gives them years to do, 3 or 4 movies.
Grow into it.
And, have Drake grow up, even though Tom Holland is a fully grown man.
Yeah.
He's not going to get any bigger than what he is, which is sort of an odd thing. I thought they'd go for maybe a younger choice. He's a great actor. Yeah. Not saying he's bad in any sense, but he's a fully grown man. He's not a kid that's going to grow any bigger. And I don't know if they've figured that out.
And so, like, I've seen lots of people. There's so much, like, there's all the fan casting, like, nonsense stuff that happens at the moment. And I had always been a fan of having someone like a Nathan Fillion do it. And then obviously Nathan Fillion did that fan film last year that blew up and really proved to everyone that, like, if he concentrates on being fit, which he's been really fit for The Rookie, the new big show that he was on, that he could do it. He looked fine. He did really well. But I'm guessing they're setting up a franchise, what they believe to be a franchise that really is going to put PlayStation Productions on the forefront of like the conversation.
Yeah, and I mean, using someone like Tom Holland, who is a big A-lister at the moment because of Avengers, because of Spider-Man. Yeah, it's they're putting the right foot forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, and like his casting, I was always sort of really iffy on. Like, again, nothing on the actor. He's a great actor. Has been for years. Like when he was a kid, like a proper kid actor, he was still great then. But I could never really see it. Like, as someone who was a massive fan of the games, I could never really see it. Like, he has that easy charm, but it's not the same. It's not like a sexy charisma sort of thing, if that makes sense. And I had always envisioned like a Nathan Fillion or like a Zachary Levi or someone that has that like easy, or Chris Pratt, like people along those lines, Bradley Cooper. There's all these names that have come up over the years, and Mark Wahlberg definitely shouldn't have been one, but it's just one of those things. But it seems like it's all happening. They've locked a script down. They're officially in advanced development, which would mean that they'd be looking to start casting and putting the movie together over the next 6 months to start shooting and get it all wrapped up. So very excited about that. Definitely something that I've wanted to talk about for a long time. There was all sorts of conjecture and conversations that happened around the Sully casting, because there was leaked emails from some casting people in Sony that had put like Chris Hemsworth on the table, and like I spoke openly about, I was really supportive of that. Those guys have got really great banter amongst themselves, and it would fit directly into that universe. He's taking some time off acting after Endgame and Men in Black. I don't know whether his 6-month absence from acting would maybe fit into their timeline, so it may not happen. But I thought he was definitely a better choice than some of the other names on that list, which was like Matthew McConaughey, Christopher Pine, I'm forgetting someone else, Woody Harrelson, which is so not at all Victor Sullivan from the games. But I trust Denny Trachtenberg. He's a gamer through and through, massive fan. He really landed on people's radar because he made a really high quality Portal short film forever ago. Yeah. That's really what put him on the map. So, that was, yeah. So, well, thanks for picking that one because I've wanted to talk about that one for ages. Yeah. While we're talking about video game movies, we may as well transition and talk about The Division, which is a big Ubisoft property. It's weird, like E3 week, and there's all this information about game movies, even though we're still doing a game special.
Yeah.
So The Division was announced, I think, 3 years ago, like just after the first game came out. And for those who don't know, The Division was like a sort of a 4-player co-op shared world looter shooter thing. So you could like join up with your friends, and you could walk around. Everyone had their own like distinct characters and whatever. Yeah. And the story of that was basically so like in the near future, there was like a virus that was spread with money. And it basically it started out by decimating New York, and then by like the end of that year or something, pretty much all of civilization has gone to shit. And they activate this. There's like a group of trained civilians that are all like, that's the Division. They're like trained civilians in secret.
Yeah.
And they activate the Division, and they're all trained specifically for like catastrophic times to come in and save like who and what remains of civilization.
Yeah.
And so like it was a cool premise. It was like interesting enough that like it was a massive success for Ubisoft. They've done a sequel to it now that's set in Washington and stuff like that. They announced the cast for this forever ago, and it was Jessica Chastain and Jake Gyllenhaal, which everyone was like losing their minds over because it was like at the height of the conversation of like, can video game movies be like the next big thing, and is superhero movie fatigue a real thing, and all that sort of nonsense. It just sort of never got off the ground.
Yeah.
Like it was always talked about, and everyone sort of thought it was going to be one of those things that was like announced and then just went away.
Never happened, yeah.
And then just randomly again, in pops Netflix, and they're like, "Hey, we've got it. We're reviving it. It's happening." Neither them or like Chastain or Gyllenhaal, no one's commented on release dates or anything, or like even when it's shooting.
Yeah.
But like it'd have to be in the next like 12 months if Netflix is out here like saying like, "Yeah, man, like we dropped the dollar bills on it and it's happening."
Yeah.
And because like The Division 2's done really well again, it was favourably reviewed and made lots of money.
Yeah.
It's very popular with gamers at the moment. They've announced that it's being directed by David Leitch. Well, I think that's how you say it, or Litch. Who was one of the directors of John Wick. He was the guy that took over from Tim Miller and did Deadpool 2 for Fox. And like, so like, I'm happy with that choice. I don't know what the movie would be. There's like really cool elements in the game where there's like safe zones for specific people, and then they have like downtown in New York is called like the Dark Zone, where like that's where all like the rebels live and like the people that'll just kill you and take your shit, and it's sort of like a wasteland area that there's just like no rules to. So like maybe it's based around something like a raid into the Dark Zone or something like that.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, they could base it as the catastrophic event is happening. And show that side of it. True. And then
we haven't had a big like apocalypse movie for a while.
So it could go down that path, I think, which would be pretty cool.
Did you ever play this?
I never played it, no. But I've only heard good things. So.
It was basically like, it was sort of like it was like spun out of like the idea of like shared world, living world shooters like that came with like Destiny and like sort of what they wanted Anthem to be, and like a lot of these other stuff that's coming out now, like the Ghost Recon stuff and like all that sort of thing, where it's like co-op single player, not single player, but like co-op story driven shared world stuff.
With like constantly
upgrading missions and stuff like that.
Worlds,
so I'm super excited about that. Like I said, no release date or anything like that, but I'm picking up I'm picking up a lot of what Netflix is putting down at the moment. And that'll stay unchanged at least until I see what The Witcher turns out like, which we should get a look at soon.
Hopefully.
Alright, so that stuff on the list was Ghostbusters 3, and they're referring to it as Ghostbusters 3. which is strange because we did get a third Ghostbusters, like a theatrically released Ghostbusters movie that I guess Sony themselves is just going to ignore, which is like the Paul Feig one. That like didn't do especially well at the box office or with the critics, but like had quite a lot of fans. But Ghostbusters 3, it's written and directed by Jason Reitman. Yes, Jason Reitman, who's the son of the director Ivan Reitman, who made the original. So it's like a weird like family experience. But the reason that it's in the news at the moment is because Sigourney Weaver, herself, like the queen of movies, confirmed 100%, like, yeah, I'm totally doing it. I'm back with Bill Murray, I'm back with Dan Aykroyd. There was no confirmation of whether Ernie Hudson was coming back. He's joining, she's joining the rest of the new cast, which is McKenna Grace, which is the little girl that was in Gifted with Chris Evans, I believe, and she was young Brie Larson in Captain Marvel. Carrie Coon, and obviously Finn Wolfhard. So like, I think like Finn Wolfhard's probably like the lead of that movie, and everyone else is like, that's the generational thing. But like, I'm super excited about this. It's dated for July 10, 2020, which is like not very far away.
Not at all.
So like, and that may just be like they just will like, we'll just put a date on it and like
see what happens.
But are you keen for this? Like, are you a big Ghostbusters fan?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those movies that was, all right, family movie night, what are we watching?
Yeah.
Put on Ghostbusters. Or, it's just one of those movies that the whole family could sit down and watch, and we loved it.
I feel like everyone's seen those movies.
Yeah. I think...
See, to me, like Ghostbusters 1 and Ghostbusters 2 like meld together for me.
I always
remember set pieces.
Yeah.
And I'll be talking to someone and be like, oh man, I just love Ghostbusters. And people are like, you fucking idiot, that's Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. And I'm just like, wow, that's so strange.
Yeah.
Like,
same sort of thing as like Back to the Future, I think.
Yeah.
Like, they sort of blend together. Yeah, they've got the different times which sort of specify that, but they just set in that time that you watch them so much that they do just blend together. It's like, this is Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Yeah, bloody great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm super excited about that. It'll be interesting to see how it turns out. Lots of people are unhappy that they seem to just be completely ignoring the Ghostbusters 2016 outing. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, it seems cool. Jason Reitman seems to be doing right by the fans.
Yep.
They had like Ghostbusters convention thing over the other weekend, and there was like heaps of celebrities there, and he did like a little presentation and said like how much he appreciated the fan support, and he's cut together like that weird little teaser trailer thing that had like that showed the original car, the Ecto 1, all that sort of thing. So I'm interested to see how it goes.
Yeah,
I think we're in a time and place in modern cinema where they can ignore sequels and stuff. Like Terminator's doing it, Planet of the Apes did it, Superman did it, Batman's probably going to do it, like all sorts of stuff. So alright, last bit of news. Bill and Ted Face the Music is what it's officially called, Bill and Ted 3. It's got a release date August 21, 2020. So there's heaps of really, really, really awesome stuff coming out next year. But there's some casting news, which is both awesome and a little bit confusing. So they've announced that they have cast the daughters of Bill and Ted. The daughter of Ted will be played by Bridget Lundy Payne, who we know as the big sister in Atypical on Netflix, which is one of my favourite shows on Netflix. And people need to be checking that out. It's so good. She's playing Billy Logan. So they've named their daughters after each other. And then they've announced an Aussie, Samara Weaving, who is the niece of Hugo Weaving, as Thea Preston. And she's from, most people would know her. I think Australians probably know. I think she was in Neighbours. But for people overseas, she was in like Ash vs. Evil Dead. She was in three billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri that won Oscars a couple of years ago or last year, and stuff like that. Super keen for this. I want to see what they do with like with the Rufus character. Apparently Kevin Smith is going to have a cameo in this. He and George Carlin, who played Rufus, were super, super, super close in real life.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves is shit hot at the moment. Alex Winters has been like a really, really, really well-respected documentary filmmaker for years now. He made some really cool shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm super excited to see what they do with this.
Yeah.
And I hope you are as excited. Do you have any thoughts on that, on the casting? Like, she's such a good actress.
Oh, yeah, she's fantastic. Yeah. Bridget, in Atypical, smashes it out of the ballpark.
I have to be honest, I haven't seen Samara in, like, I haven't seen, she was in The Babysitter, or the Netflix Babysitter thing that we talked about forever ago with...
yes.
Bella Thorne. I haven't seen it.
Yeah. So I couldn't really base her acting skill off anything, so I guess we'll just see what happens. But I mean, it's cool to see that they're evolving those characters as well, you know, having kids and whatnot. So it's
so the reason that it's confusing is because at the end of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, no, which is the second one?
Bogus Journey.
Bogus Journey. They have kids, but they're boys. This is little Bill, and this is little Ted. And then they go and they play the God made rock and roll for you over the end credits and stuff. So like a lot of people are like, are they retconning that they had boys or like? And I'm just like, just shut up and wait for the fucking movie. Yeah. Like, I'm interested to see whether they do can be a little bit tropey, where like the girls are like really smart and like the guys are still like dull as shit, like really dumb, and the girls are like the counterbalance. But then it kind of worked. Like the mums were kind of the counterbalance, like the princesses were kind of the counterbalance. So it'd be interesting to see whether, or if maybe they take on their dad's personalities, because I can see like Bridget in particular in Atypical has like that sort of weird, funny, quirky sort of quality, like whether she could really play up the Keanu-isms of like moving the head around and they're like, whoa. Like she has that, so super excited about that. All right, cool. We're through all the news stuff, and what I thought we could do is, because Dark Phoenix is out in cinemas at the moment, and it seems as though pretty much no one's going to watch it. Yeah. So I thought we may as well talk about it, so that at least people have got a little bit of information about it. No spoilers, of course, except for what we've probably seen in trailers and that. But it's out in cinemas. It's being toted? That's not a word. They're calling it pretty much the last of like the cinematic entries to the Fox X-Men franchise. Yeah. It's got like 23% on Rotten Tomatoes or something, which so many people don't understand how those aggregated scores work. It doesn't mean that it's got a 2 out of 10 average score. It just means that 2 out of the 10, like if you averaged it out, 2 out of 10 critics that went and saw it liked it versus 8 who didn't. Yeah. So like it's that's how it works. It's not anyway. I really liked it. I went in expecting it not to be as confined as it was. Like it was a very centralized story. It really focused on Sophie Turner and like her experiences as Jean Grey and Phoenix. Yeah. And it felt really intimate to me, which to me has always been a really nice counterbalance. I always went into Fox's X-Men films expecting something that was smaller in scale, a bit more intimate, a bit more character focused, because that's what I enjoyed about them, and that's why I like things like Logan. You know, that's probably my favorite comic book movie of all time is Logan. Or like Days of Future Past and First Class, they're my favourites because they're much smaller in scale, but it's really, really, really focused on like relationships and motives and stuff, like seeing stuff from other people's points of view, and I felt like this genuinely actually carried on that trope or that trend that they'd set in being really character focused. It wasn't about the explosions and the team ups and the cameos and the, iconography and stuff like that. It was really character focused, which I was super appreciative of. I wouldn't say that I loved this movie, but I definitely liked it. It's definitely, for me, it was definitely better than Apocalypse. Definitely better than some of the earlier entries in the X-Men films. Definitely better than X-Men 3.
Yeah, it's hard to appreciate it as much as what I do anyway with, Days of Future Past, Logan, X2. They're just such great movies. So it's hard to beat that, but it was still a good movie. It's fun. The acting's fantastic as always. You're not going to get bad acting with the cast that they have.
Fassbender in that, like there's a it's not really a spoiler because you kind of see it, but there's a scene with Fassbender, and he's basically just like using his strength to hold down a helicopter that Phoenix is sort of looking to throw away. And I leaned over to you in our screening, and I was like, this is fucking amazing. Yeah. Like I just love to see when heroes or villains, so like his intent, he is, for all intents and purposes, he's a villain. Yeah. And him in that, his sole motive in that exact point in time was to save the people on that helicopter. Yeah. Regardless of whether they were there to harm them or not. Yeah. Because he knew the impact that it would have on Jean.
Yeah, on Jean, but also the community that he had himself.
Like the brotherhood. And so, and it's just the emotion in him and the physicality in like I don't know. There was just the way that they shot it, and I thought like everyone's hating on Simon Kinberg at the moment, who wrote and directed it. Yeah. Because he was somewhat involved in X3, because he was somewhat involved in Fantastic Four and the Josh Trank disaster. Yeah. But I thought he did really well. This is the first movie he's ever directed. There was lots of apparently there was lots of Disney mandated changes, like when the Disney merger was put on the table. Yeah. There was lots of changes that they were asked to make specific to the third act, specific to changing it from the Dark Phoenix saga that they were in pre-production on, part 1 and part 2. They had to sort of collate that into one movie. So
yeah, I can imagine it would have been difficult for them, like making a movie at that point in time with the Disney merger. It would have been rough, but it still turned out to be a good movie, and I really hope more people get out to see it because it's not bad.
No, not at all. I definitely recommend it. Yeah. And like I said in my Instagram stories, right now, there's a movie in cinemas right now that has a sequence that showcases teamwork as good as or better than I've seen in any of the Avengers movies, any of the Marvel movies, any of the DC movies by a long shot. And I just hope that people will give it a chance, because it's the end of 20 years of filmmaking. Anyways, that's pretty much all we wanted to talk about on this episode. We do have a big gaming special that was coming out in the next couple of days, because obviously it's E3. So make sure you check that one out. Make sure you're following us on any of our socials. We've got the bar up the top there now so that you guys can see them, save us time so we're not talking about them all the time. Comment, let us know what you thought of Dark Phoenix, what you think of any of this news. If there's anything you want us to cover or that you think we missed, or information that we got wrong, anything like that, let us know. Shoot us a message. And check out some of these other videos, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching. See you later. Guys.